What's up, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Lil Boi Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome, and me, Lil Boi. Today's topics are gonna be what I want to do with this YouTube channel and how I got kicked out of high school. Now, before I can tell the getting kicked out of high school story, I gotta go into middle school. But we'll get into that in a second. I do want to say the reason I'm starting this podcast, and to me it was weird because I was here. Hold on, let me get this music out of the way. I wanted to do almost like story time YouTube videos, but I didn't want to call them story time because that's kind of weird to me. I don't know. I don't want to be like Tana Mojo or anything. But I've seen Cody Co do solo podcasts, and they're pretty entertaining. I've listened to a ton of Kevin Smith's probably every podcast that Kevin Smith has ever put out, I've listened to. And, like, I always find it so interesting how he can just talk and talk and talk literally by himself sometimes. And, like, I don't know, I do a lot of videos over on Pleeka if you've seen those by myself. And I thought, well, why not just try doing a podcast by yourself on my main channel? And I can have guests on it if I want to. I can just sit on here and tell a story about how I almost got kicked, or how I did get kicked out of high school. So, like, I don't know, I thought it'd be interesting, and maybe people want to watch it, maybe they won't. I'm going to continue doing it, I think, like, every other week, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really planned this out much. I got this idea a couple days ago, and I thought it out, and I thought, well, might as well just fucking do the video, or the podcast, and see how it goes, and then just try uploading it. Because, like, a lot of the times I'll get an idea for a video. And then, like, I'll get the idea. Say I get the idea that night. And then the next day I'm like, okay, I'm starting to plan the video. And then the third day I'll go to film the video. And at that point I've thought about it so much that I don't think the video is entertaining. So a lot of the time I just got to do the video, like, the second I get the idea of it. Or, like, at least the next day. Otherwise, I just won't do the video. And, like, there's probably a lot of good videos I could have done on my channel that I just thought was stupid because I thought about them so much. Like, I filmed a video that was supposed to go up last week where I got a bunch of, like, advice columns off of Reddit. And oh, here, this is ending. Hold on, let me fix that. All right, I got a bunch of advice columns off of Reddit. I filmed the whole video. The whole video was edited, and I thought it was kind of funny. Like, I thought it was pretty funny. I showed my mom, showed a couple people, they liked it. But this just shows, like, the type of person I am. I didn't like the shirt I was wearing in the video, and I didn't like how my hair looked. And I ended up just scrapping the whole video. I even uploaded at one point. I even got dinged for it being not appropriate for advertisers. And I was like, well, you know what? Like, it's getting dinged. I didn't really like the video. I was just kind of uploading it because I haven't uploaded anything in a while. And I was like, you know, fuck it. I'm just going to delete it and maybe sit on it for a couple days, and if I like it, I will upload it. And I haven't watched it since, and I did it like a week ago. Like, I don't know. It happens to me a lot where I want to do stuff like that, and I just don't like it. But here, let me take a drink. Oh, by the way, before we move on with this podcast, I am filming this in 4K on my iPhone 7 Plus right there. Well, you can't see it. It's what but whatever. But so I may have to get up every once in a while and make sure it's still recording because I'm using the back camera because that's what records in 4K. So I can't tell if it stops recording anything. I have like a little mirror setup thing, but I might get up every once in a while, double check it's still recording because I don't want to be rambling on and then all you guys see is a black screen. I want to make sure you see me the entire time or whatever. So there might be some cuts in this. And I'm probably not going to use my phone permanently unless this turns out really well, like the quality with it. I just kind of wanted to test it, and I thought, well, I'm doing a test podcast. Why not test that video as well? But yeah, that's just so you know that I'm like there might be some cuts. But anyway, so let's get into the story. So this starts out, I believe, in like 8th grade. Me and my friends, I'm pretty sure it was getting close to like some sort of school break. And we've been talking about ditching school for a while because we've all wanted to, but we didn't really have the balls. So then one day, we're walking to the bus stop, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Let's just ditch today. What could possibly happen? Like, even if like the school calls our parents, we could be like, oh, well, we missed one class, and they called whatever. Like, we can't get in that much trouble. And then we talked about it. It was me and 2 other friends, and it was Brian and Gabriel. So we're like, yeah, fuck it. So we sat around the corner. We watched the bus drive away. I don't know why, because we did school after this a couple times. But every time we did school, we always watched I think it was just so, like, we knew, like, all right, the bus is gone. We can't get on it now. We're fucked. We have to commit. I think that was kind of I don't know. But anyway, so we did that, and then we kind of walked around for, like, maybe an hour and a half, and we were like, fuck, this is boring. Why don't we all just go home? Like, there's no point in just walking around the neighborhood. We could have gone to school and probably had more fun. And then I was like, well, I can't go home. My dad's there. He doesn't work until, like, late today, or he might have been off. I think he was actually off work, because you'll see later in the story. And then my other friend was like, oh, yeah, fuck, my mom's home, too. And our other friend, Gabriel, his parents were always home. So we're like, well, we have a friend that lives in these apartments nearby. Let's just go see if they can chill or whatever, hang out in the apartments, because they have, like, a playground there anyway. So we just kind of hung out there. And I think at this point, it's been a couple hours. It's probably, like, school starts, I think, at, like, 7:45. At this point, it's, like, 9:30, almost 10 o'clock. And we're hanging around, and we see, like, this full beer can on the floor. So my friend picks it up and kind of, like, throws it over this wall, and it almost hits, like, an apartment door, and we kind of laughed a little bit. So we're just sitting there chit-chatting, and then in the same area, there's a ton of rocks. And my friend picks up a rock and starts throwing it, and he's trying to hit these apartment windows. And then my other friend joins in. And I was like, okay, this is where the day could kind of go wrong, I'm thinking. But I was like, well, chances are they're not going to hit and break a window. I don't remember if they did. I'm pretty sure they didn't hit an actual window. But then they're like, come on, Jerome, try. And I was like, no, I can't. And I was like, come on, Jerome. And, you know, I fall under peer pressure. So I pick up a rock and say this Red Bull is the apartment buildings. I don't even know if you can see this. But the apartment buildings are here. I throw the rock. It goes completely over here, like way off to the left. And I was like, see, I have bad aim, so I can't. And so they continued to do it. And I think at that point I still brought my lunch to school. So I was like, oh, guys, I'm going to go grab a drink from my backpack or a sandwich or whatever. And so I walk over to my backpack, which we had them, like, piled up in this little corner. And I walk over there, and I see two construction worker guys and a woman in, like, a nice, like, you know, like a girl suit. And they were walking towards us, and they looked like they were on a fucking mission. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I ran over to my friends, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. Jesus Christ. I run over to my friends, and I was like, guys, there's people coming after us right now. We have to go. So we grabbed our backpacks, and we tossed one of the backpacks to our friend that was farther away. And my friend Brian goes this way towards the apartments, and me and my friend Gabriel run to the left. And we're running, and they had, like, this short wall in front of all the apartments. I jumped on top of the short wall as we were being chased. And one of the construction worker guys goes to grab up my leg. And I jumped over him, and I ran around the building, and I met with my other friend Brian. And I was sitting there, and I was like, oh my god, dude, we're fucked. The one day we did school, and oh my god, and like, I'm freaking out. And my friend Brian goes, dude, run! And I turn to him, and I go, what? And then at that point, I feel a hand on my shoulder, and the guy goes, gotcha. And I was like, oh god, no. So then the construction worker guys and the little business lady end up bringing us, like, to this little area, and they're talking to us like, what are you guys doing? Like, why aren't you guys at school? And we're like, we're trying to find our friend. And they're like, oh, what's his name? And we're like, I don't know. We ended up making up some name, like Jacob or something. I don't know. We said something. And they go, oh, you weren't throwing rocks at buildings or anything? And I go, well, no, we weren't. And my other friend just dead wasn't saying anything. He was making me talk to the people the entire time. And then after I'm talking to them for like 5 minutes, all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I see someone walking towards us, and it looks like a kid. And I look over, and it's Brian. And I was like, oh, he's coming back. Why didn't he just go? He got away. And he came back, and he just kind of turned himself in. And I was like, why'd you do it? He's like, well, because I know if you guys got arrested or anything, Gabriel would tell on me. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. Here, I'm going to check the camera real quick. So I was like, yeah, that's a real good point. I mean, I wouldn't tell on you, but I know he would because he's a fucking dildo. So we got brought to the apartment office, and they're kind of questioning us there. They're being real dicks because apparently people, like, a couple nights ago, they said 3 really tall Mexican kids, which obviously, I'm not Mexican. I'm not tall. My other friend, Brian, he's literally the same height as me. He's Mexican, and he has glasses. And then our friend Gabriel is tall. He's the only one that fit their description, and we know it wasn't him because he didn't really hang out there. That was Matt and Brian's idea to go there. So they're saying that these 3 tall Mexican kids were going there, and like their lights there are like they're kind of street light things, where like giant ass light bulbs on these big sticks. And there's the people coming there with baseball bats and beating it. And I was like, well, that wasn't us. Like, we haven't been here in a while. This is just us here today. We just came here today because we ditched school and we had nowhere to go. And these people they were just totally trying to pin this on us. So then a police officer comes and he's questioning us too. And then he's like, oh, so was it you guys the other night? And he's asking us why we're getting frustrated. We're like, yeah, we were there today throwing the rocks. Yes, we admit that. But that was not us the night before. And the police officer was kind of getting in us. And I stood up. I don't know. I stood up and I yelled, they're trying to blame us for something we didn't fucking do. And the officer turns to me and goes, shut the fuck up and talk what you're spoken to. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. That was like the last thing I said for a while. So then we ended up getting arrested. The cop brought us outside, handcuffed us all, put us in the backseat of his car. And my friend Brian, in handcuffs, we're all handcuffed to each other, pulls his phone out of his pocket and starts texting people from school about what's going on. And then he ends up texting his mom, and I don't remember exactly what he told her. I don't think he told her the real story yet. But so we ended up going to like the police department, I guess, and we were all put in these little rooms, like these brick rooms, and me and Brian were like banging on the wall, like trying to talk to each other and shit. I think Gabriel was shitting his pants in the other room. So doing that, and we all got interviewed one by one, and our stories matched up because like we ditched school, we came there to hang out, and then we threw rocks like idiots. But then they called our parents, and we got in trouble, and all this shit happened because the one day we decided to ditch school. And now that's important because freshman year, so that's 8th grade, freshman year of high school, me and Brian ended up ditching school again, and we got caught by my dad. So then he is like, okay, fuck you guys, you're not riding the bus anymore. I'm driving you to school every fucking day so I know you're there. So the first day he drops us off, we're walking into the gate, and I turn to Brian, and I go, so, like, we're walking home, right? And he goes, oh, yeah, of course. So I think we went and got breakfast at school. And then we just walked right out at the gate, and we walked home. Because by the time we got to my house, because it takes like an hour to get here, my dad would have already been left for work. So he came here, we played video games and shit, and then my sister would come home from school at like 2 o'clock, I think. So then by the time that would happen, we would just hop the fence and go into the alley in my backyard, hang out there for like an hour, and then come through the door like nothing ever happened. And we did that for a long ass time. Like, we just kept walking home. But then what really got in our way was my uncle started doing construction on our house. Like, he was like redoing our front yard. He was putting in a front door and all that. And like, I was oblivious to that, apparently. So one day, me and Brian were in the alley and we're waiting for my dad to leave. And I pull up on my phone, the Xbox app, and I was like, okay, he's not on Xbox. So then we called the house with like star 69 or something, so then he wouldn't know it was us. No one answered. So we're like, okay, cool. We hopped the wall, we peeked inside, we came through the backyard, like the sliding glass door, and we're in here hanging out. And then we're in my room, and then all of a sudden we hear the front door open, and we're like, oh, fuck. So we turn off everything real quick, and we hide under my bed. And we see, like, because I didn't have a door at the time, we see my uncle and everybody walking by, and they go into the bathroom, do all kinds of shit, but we're hiding under my bed, and we're freaking out. So then, once we hear the doors close, we just sprint, go out there, hop the wall, and just run down the alley and just get as far away from this place as we can. I'm going to check the camera again. So we're running, and then as we're running, my friend Brian is like, why the fuck is your uncle there? And I was like, I don't know. So then we ended up, because if you go far enough down the alley, you can turn, and then you can come like to the front yard of the house, like down the street. So we're peeking, and we see that he's doing construction, which I'm pretty sure my parents never told me, but I don't know why they would. Like, it doesn't really concern me. And then one day as I'm walking from school, because like one day we actually went to school, and as I'm walking the front yard, my uncle says something weird to me. I don't remember what it was, but it was basically like, hey, fucker, I know you're ditching school. I'm doing work on your house all day. You don't think I noticed someone in and out of your house and all this shit? And I was like, he's like, so just make sure you stay in school because that could really fuck you up. And So I told my friend that my uncle knows, and he's like, well, at least he's not telling your dad. And I was like, that's a good point. So then I think at this point, me and my friend, we didn't go to school for like a week and a half straight. Every day my dad would drive us to school, and we'd come home, we'd play like Left 4 Dead or some shit here, watch TV, do whatever, and then we would just leave and come back home, or we'd go and hang out at his house. One day, we actually tricked his mom into we tricked her into thinking it was a half day at school, so then we could come there and hang out, which was actually pretty funny. And a couple times, like, my sister came home early, so we would hide, or my dad would come home for lunch, so we'd run outside and hide, and we'd hide, like, on my neighbor's roof until my dad left again. Because if we had on my neighbor's roof, we could see my dad's car pull in and out, so when we know when he leaves, we can just go in the house and no one's there. But so then, after, like, a week and a half, we're like, all right, there were some things at school we wanted to do, so we went to class, and we're like, we don't want to fail. Like, we want to have fun outside, but we don't want to fail. So we end up going to class, and I go to biology, and apparently that teacher was oblivious, because I go to biology. That was my first hour. I don't know why I thought you knew that. And class went fine. We watched some video about cloning lambs and shit. And then, so I go to theater. That's my second hour. And as I'm there, the teacher's like, Jerome, what are you doing here? And I was like, going to class? What do you mean? And she's like, well, you're not on my roster. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. You might want to write me on there. And then, like, joking around, and she's like, no, you're not on my roster. You need to go to the front office. And I was like, okay. And I'm walking to the front office, and I was thinking, okay, so this might be because I ditched school. I don't know. I'm, like, freaking out. Like, 1,000 things are running through my mind. I'm like, if it is because I ditched school, what am I going to say to get me back on the roster and not in trouble? So I'm going through all these things in my head, and as I walk into the office, the people talk to me, and they're like, yeah, can I help you? And I was like, my teacher said I wasn't on the roster, so she sent me here so then you guys could help me. And she's like, okay, what's your teacher's name? So I told her the theater teacher's name, and then she's like, well, what's your name? And I was like, Jerome. And right when I said Jerome, like 4 people in the office turn, and they go, oh, you're Jerome. And I was like, oh, no, that's not good. I was like, I've never met these women in my life, and they all know who I am. Oh, God. And literally, as if it was like a TV show, they go, oh, you're Jerome. I'm thinking, oh, fuck. I turn over to the right, and out of the counselor's office walks Brian, his mom, and his counselor. And he looks at me, and he gives me the biggest, like, smirk ever. And I was like, no, we're fucked. And he looks at me, and he's just, like, shaking his head. And as he walks by, his mom walks by, and then his counselor walks by, stops, and looks at me and goes, you've ruined this fucking kid's life. And then walked away, and I was like, what? Oh, no. So then I had to go talk to my counselor, and she's like, so where have you been? And I was like, oh, I've been sick. And she's like, really? You've been sick for a week and a half? And I was like, oh, yeah, it was terrible. And she goes, no, tell me the truth. She goes, your friend Brian told me that you guys were ditching school and hanging out at Walmart all day. And I was like, oh, well, he came up with that story, so I guess I'll go with it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. We ditched a couple times. And before I could even finish, she goes, a couple times? You were gone a week and a half. I was like, yeah, sorry. And I was like, but, like, you know, we're in trouble now. We won't do it again, blah, blah. She's like, oh, I know you won't do it again because your dad's on his way here, and you're not going to go to the school anymore. And I was like, oh, God. So I had to sit outside, and I see all, like, the teachers, like, talking to each other about it, like, and, of course, that day, almost every kid I knew is walking through the office for some reason, like, Jerome, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing here. And then, so I get a text from my friend, because it's been like an hour. I had to wait for my dad to get home, or get a break from work so he could come pick me up. And I'm just sitting there thinking about every possible fucking thing that could go wrong, like, what's my dad going to do to me? Am I ever going to finish high school again? Like, blah, 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 all this shit. And everybody is just questioning me. And then finally my dad walks in, and he looks so fucking pissed, which, I mean, rightfully so. And he ends up talking to the people, and of course, they make me tell him what happened. And then we end up driving home, and it was the most awkward drive home ever, because it was just completely silent. And we get inside, and he yells at me. I get in trouble, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then Brian tells me, dude, I have to go to a charter school now, and all this shit has to happen. But then, like, the weird thing is, they let me go. So I got kicked out. They said I can't I will not get any credit score for that freshman year at all, except because that was I think that was the second half of the year though. So I already got the first half credits. And they let me go back I couldn't go to school for 2 weeks. So I had to do all kinds of chores here. But they let me go back, and they're like, all right, you won't get any credits, though, but you have to go to class every day. And Brian he was already at a different school, so it's not like I had someone to ditch with, so I really had to go. And I think 2 of my teachers were nice enough to give me credit. Like, they said, if you turn in the work, I will give you credit for it, because they kind of felt bad for me, because, I just did school. I made a mistake that probably everybody in their life has done at some point. I just did it a little more than usual. And I ended up getting a couple credits. But yeah, that's how I got kicked out of school, because I ditched every day with my friend after already getting arrested for ditching school. And that's my story. That's really all I had planned for this podcast, was to talk about that. I don't even know how long I went for. But I do want to mention some things that I want to do with this channel. Like I said in the beginning, I think I'm going to do this little podcast every other week. So there'll at least be a video on this channel every other week. I might have some guests on it. Like, I was thinking about interviewing my mom on here. That might be interesting. Just ask her about what were her dreams as a child, and not sleepy dreams, but what did she want to be, and all kinds of stuff. That might be interesting. And I'll just have some random people over. That might be cool. Maybe even Willow on here, because she has some fucked up stories. But so I do the podcast every other week. I'm going to continue doing my stunts and shit on here, I think, because I think that's fun. I might maybe do some more react videos, because I reacted to my old cringy videos, and that was fun. Comment down below if you do want to see that advice video that I did, if you want to see the actual video, because I have it's completely all edited on my computer. And I even made the thumbnail. I just got to upload it, but I didn't like how I looked in it, so then in my mind I made it not funny and just all this shit, but I'm super self-conscious about that. I think that's all I got on here. Oh, I guess I should mention, if you want to see more content from me, I'll put the link in the description. You go check out the channel Pleeka. We do videos in there almost every day of the week. I have another podcast on that I do that it is such a fun. It's the funnest thing I'm doing right now. It's called Podcast the 13th. And here I got a little pop figure. We watch Friday the 13th once a week over there, and then we do a podcast about the movie, and we play little clips from the movie after things we've talked about, and we do music cues and all kinds of stuff. It's really fun. We've only done the first 3 movies right now, so we're going through every single Friday the 13th, and then I think we're going to move on to, and we're going to do, Freddy vs. Jason, and then we're going to do the remake, shit like that. But then once we're done with that, we're going to do Nightmare on Elm Street, and we're probably going to rename the podcast A Podcast on Elm Street, and then we also could be talking about doing Jaws as well, and naming it We're Going to Need a Bigger Podcast. So we get tons of horror movie podcasts we want to do. But yeah, if you're interested in that, I'll put the links to all those in the description. Thanks for watching the Lil Boi Podcast this week, and I think next week, not next week, I think soon I will be able to get this on iTunes and Spreaker and SoundCloud, all kinds of audio only version shit. So if you are interested in just listening to the audio version, you've been listening to at the gym or going for a walk or in your car or whatever, comment that too, and just really let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know if you thought the quality was good, because I filmed this from my iPhone in 4K. And that's it. Yeah, so I'll see you guys later.